And welcome back to the Michael Cohen Show on our continued journey to 500,000 subscribers. We're killing it right now, thanks to you. So hit subscribe, comment, watch, share with your family and your friends, because the nonsense, it's not stopping. Now look, as we all know, Trump's having this military parade on Saturday, which also by coincidence happens to be his birthday. You know what else it happens to be? It happens to be the day that 1,500 No King's Day protests are also scheduled to happen throughout the entire country. Now, yesterday in the Oval Office, there was a presser, right? Trump literally goes out and threatens anyone who participates in that protest. On Political Beatdown, my co-host Ben Meiselas and I, we spoke about what we think will happen on Saturday. We raised the questions. Will Trump deploy the National Guard? Will he deploy the Marines? Will he tell them to detain anyone who has an anti-Trump sign? What about the protests that happen in red states, especially red states, where those governors are willing to bend the knee immediately? Unlike, of course, California with Gavin Newsom. Play the clip.
This was one of the most telling moments, I think, about what a lot of this is about. I'll get your take on it, Cohen, where Trump says, if you protest my military parade on this weekend, I'm coming after you. Here's what he said.
Celebrating big on Saturday. We're going to have a lot of, and if there's any protester wants to come out, they will be met with very big force. By the way, if for those people that want to protest, they're going to be met with very big force. And I haven't even heard about a protest, but, you know, this is people that hate our country, but they will be met with very heavy force. Thank you very much, everyone.
If you protest,
so could you imagine you're going to go out there. By the way, it's the same day as the the No Kings, what do you call it?
No Kings
protests. All around the country, including in Washington, D.C. So imagine this. The Constitution of the United States gives you the right to peacefully protest, to stand there with a sign, somewhat the same thing that Trump did, right, during the campaigns, right? The mass deportation now signs, the lock him up, lock her up sort of signs, the, drain the swamp signs. So you're going to go there, you're going to be like, fuck Trump sign. And the next thing you know, it's going to be met with force. I'm wondering whether or not there's actually some form of a mandate that Trump has given, whether it is to, DC police, to the National Guard, whether it's going to be to the Marines, to say, if you see a protester holding up a sign which is negative towards Trump, that you have the right to crack their skull. You know, I want to share something with you, Ben, and people don't know this case, but I was actually subpoenaed to testify in a case which was called Galizia. And it was Galizia versus Donald J. Trump. That case was all about a group of individuals, I believe it was of Mexican descent, who were protesting in front of Trump Tower on Fifth Avenue. And they were holding up a sign that was very negative towards Trump. And he sent somebody downstairs to one of his employees to grab the sign. Well, the employee did, grabbed it. In so grabbing, ended up banging the guy across the side of the head, got a hold of the sign, tore it in half. Well, let me be very clear. After my testimony, Galizia won the case, right? And it was, he won the case, and it was determined that they violated his First Amendment rights. That's what you're going to see here. And I tell you this story so that you understand that this is a rerun of an old movie. I've seen this before, and we're going to see it again. And the problem that each and every one of us have to understand is that if it happens again, which we know it will, it will just be the beginning of a confluence of these sort of protesters being assaulted, being detained, incarcerated, whatever may be the result, for exercising their First Amendment right to free speech and protest.
No, I also find it interesting, Cohen, how none of the corporate news had been covering. We were covering it. We're not corporate news, though. All of the protests that have been taking place, all peaceful protests across the country leading up to what transpired on Friday. But they will sure focus on the 4 Waymo vehicles that are on fire. They'll look at the bad actors, and there are bad actors. And let me be clear. Anyone who's violent at the protest, anyone who breaks the law needs to be held accountable, needs to be condemned, needs to be arrested immediately. But that's a very, very tiny fraction of the peaceful protests that are actually happening. But the media goes right to it. They'll stage a reporter right by where the action is, and then they'll beam that image as though that's what's happening across the country or all over LA, to play into a narrative that this is what all of LA looks like, when it's a 0.00001% literally of the city of LA, yet alone the county of LA. And they play right into the kind of fascism gamification of it all. It reminds me of the media, the way they cover, I always think Jesse Waters looks like that guy from the Hunger Games, the dude with the big hair.
Uh-huh.
But the way the Hunger Games media covers the games, to me, is how our corporate news covers Trump's fascism. And they gamify it in a way where they don't take a step back and go, what the hell are we doing? We're supposed to be the fourth estate. That's a dictator right there. And he is federalizing National Guard troops over 2 cars that are on fire or 4 cars that are on.
The best is you listen. You listen to, for example, like Fox News. And what they do is they show there's 2 guys on motorcycles holding a Mexican flag. And Jesse Waters or Laura Ingraham or one of the others, they're sitting there and they're like, look at the disrespect as LA is on fire. After Trump, of course, compares this one vehicle that these 2 guys in a motorcycle are driving around holding a Mexican flag. Of course, they turn around and said that it's a Palestinian flag, which, by the way, would make no difference. I don't give a crap what flag that you're riding around. It makes no difference. There's 1 car on fire, and Trump is comparing this to all of LA is on fire. It's as bad, but maybe even worse than the LA wildfires that they are still recovering from. I mean, I understand MAGA. I do. I understand that they are drinking the Kool-Aid, but there's a difference between acknowledging what Trump is saying and listening to the lies, to owning the lies, which are so over-exaggerated and so stupid. They are so fundamentally stupid. There's 1 fucking car in a parking lot that is on fire, and literally then they bring it up and they show this wide screen of the whole thing. It's 1 freaking car on fire, and they're making it basically parroting Trump's nonsense that all of LA is on fire. Look at the damage. Look at the destruction. Yes, somebody wrote "fuck ICE" on the side of a wall. Okay, I get it. Wrong. Don't do it. I said it even when I was on MSNBC the other day because nobody else wants to say it. Everybody go home. Just go home. Don't give Trump the oxygen he needs to keep this fire burning. Go home, relax, or stay on the sidewalk. Don't mess up the highway. Just stay on the side. Instead, 1 car on fire, and that car is now all of LA. It's that all of LA is now a pile of ashes.
That's what they said. They said 90. They said all of LA is on fire, and it's just simply not true. But I think it's also important when Trump says that and said all of these things about LA. We're going to go after mass deportations, enemy from within, all of this rhetoric that you and I were shouting from the rooftops. Look what he's saying. Look what he's saying. And nobody in the corporate news would take it seriously at all. I mean, if you're Canada, if you're Greenland, for example, yes, he wants to invade you. He wants to make it's not a joke. And again, it goes back to the corporate news coverage. The 51st state. Oh, what do you think about the 50? Donald Trump is behaving the way Putin behaves towards Ukraine. Putin says, I want to denazify Ukraine, that Ukraine is made up of Nazis. Donald Trump says Canada is a bunch of fentanyl dealers who are killing Americans intentionally, and we need to subjugate Canada and make it the 51st state. He's serious about conquering Canada with the military. He's serious about conquering Greenland with the military. What we're seeing right now in Los Angeles, we're going to see in other cities and states across the country.
Hey,
Donald Trump.
And I'm so sorry. What happens? I was meaning to ask you when we were offline. What happens during this No Kings protest when they go ahead and they do exactly what Trump is already telling everybody? Any protest that goes on is going to be met with force. What happens when all over the country, is he now going to start sending in more Marines? I understand from an inside source in DC that they're calling up more Marines and they're calling up more National Guardsmen. Is that supposed to be for DC, or is that going to be for all over the country, for Pennsylvania, for New York, for Chicago, for Idaho, for Oregon? And the thing that I wrote about actually in my Substack, which really concerns me, what happens when it takes place? For example, one of these No Kings protests takes place in a red state, in a ruby red state, where Trump has the governor that's basically licking his ass, right? Like it's some buffet over at Mar-a-Lago, and he's got all the legislators on his side. What happens then when the courts are all on his side to these individuals that are there peacefully protesting, holding signs, which again, constitutionally, it's what we're permitted to do? What happens?
I think that he will get those governors, right? Whether it is, you name the red state governor, Huckabee in Arkansas, or, I even think DeSantis in Florida, they'll all fall in line. They'll do what Newsom didn't do, which is required under the statute, 10 U.S.C. 12406, which is to basically the governor declares we're in a state of insurrection or we're in a state of chaos. We need your help. And then I think what you start to see are federal troops in all of these red states. And I think willingly, and then I think you'll see the federal troops in blue states, as well. And I think that there'll be court orders handed down in short order saying what Trump is doing is unlawful. But I think that Trump will seek a stay from the Supreme Court. One of the things we know about the Supreme Court is they always grant Donald Trump the stay. They then set it for hearing. It doesn't mean Trump's going to win the hearing, but the Supreme Court always gives him the stay.
Hey, everyone. First of all, thanks for watching. I mean, we're going to be posting daily episodes with reactions and talking about politics. We'll be talking about everything, in fact. So please like and subscribe. Join us on this journey.